So hello, Adrien and Agatha. Agatha and Adrien. How are you today?
Very good.
Hello.
You?
Yeah, great, great. I'm really looking forward to what you're going to be sharing with all of our listeners and viewers today. So I have a small bio that you yourselves prepared. Thought I'd read it and then ask a follow-up question if I could. So you yourselves have said that you, the duo Agathe and Adrien, graduated from the Circus School of Quebec in 2018. They work at the edge of circus, dance, and theater performing arts. This multidisciplinarity allows them to develop a unique circus vocabulary. As emerging artists, Agathe and Adrien started their career working for well-established circus companies in Quebec, but needing to express their social and environmental values through a committed circus, they turned towards independent circus creations presented in Quebec, including Branché, Peace of Mind, Interact, and now Null. So that's what you say about yourselves. Now I want to know a little bit more. Now that they've heard that, what should we really know about you as people?
As people. I don't know. I think we identify as circus creators. So most of our work is through our own creation now. So that was always a desire for us when we were at school. We wanted also to play with other company. We like to be interpret in other project, but there was always something missing, a little things about our way to practice and the message that was sent through the show, especially when we work in places that are built towards entertainment. It doesn't really always reach our values. So to be able to create our own piece and talk about what we want, that was the playground that we are putting since we came out of school 5 years ago.
I think at first we started as a very traditional hand-to-hand duo, trying to resemble the examples that we had in our life. And it never really quite fitted with us because Adrien was very thin and I was kind of muscular and too heavy for him, but we were, trying to fit in the path. And when we started actually letting go of that idea and discovering that we had the same circumferences and measurements everywhere, except for height, it made a lot of sense of why we were struggling, and we started exchanging roles. And now, after 5 years of that research and creating a show and everything, it really shifted our identity as a duo and as our creators in circus, because once you open some doors of questioning and redefining, then there is no going back to what we were doing before. Yeah.
I know something about opening a door and never going back in, right? I know. And I love that you've done that. It seems to me that you have already started an answer when I said, talk to us all about who you are as people. You immediately talk to us indeed about people and as ethically grounded humans, but as creators. Did I hear that right? That you see yourselves as creators?
And I think throughout the years, we've realized that we actually love research. And as circus artists, we were very used to the creation part and the athletic part. And I think the research was what was missing when we were in school, because you're just focused on learning and creating a number. But going out now, that when even we have meetings and more relationships with other researchers in other fields like science or social science and things like that, we realize that we are actually really interested in the research process and asking questions and finding answers or problems to solve. And yeah.
Wowza, it's as if you knew you were participating in the first episode on theories based on research and creation research. That was well played. Hats off to you. And this was all, I'm going to give my own hats off to the creators and the editors of CircusTalk, because they said, we want to talk about circus research. And we just saw this amazing show, Nahoma, and I had just seen that amazing show, gnome with them, and they said, let's talk, let's have an episode celebrating what your work is as researchers and as creators. But because it began with, at least this thing is happening on our experience of gnome, tell us about gnome. What is this for the people who haven't seen it yet? Can we use words about this thing? I want to hear your words. What do you say? What is this thing?
And now it's a circus show. It's an hour of hand-to-hand, just the two of us on stage, and it's really the conclusion of our 3 years of research of what does it do to exchange roles in hand-to-hand. So we started by exchanging just every tricks we could find, and we found out that in this search of equality, we were missing about the equity part of the strength. So we started to reshape a bit our new practice towards something that would be according to our physics and our way to practice hand-to-hand. So this show is about the journey of about us learning how to do that.
I think it's an hour long of two people finding and searching their relationship together, kind of understanding where the little cringe moments happen and how their dynamic sometimes enforces bad things and sometimes where it gets beautiful, and the complexity of a relationship. For me, it's a big reappropriation of our bodies and our capacities to like lay down like all of the ideas that we had before and just understand, what do I want to do, what works best for me, and really connecting more with our personalities and with the biases that we found in the relationship. So it's a long search for equality, then, as Adrien said, equity, because we still have some major differences, like in the process, finding out that whenever Adrien ports me, he has 70% of his weight to lift. When I port him, it's 140%. So even if we want this like equality, I can port you, you can port me, I'm more a base in personality, it's still impactful, and it doesn't have the same image to have him jumping on me than me on him. And it's this whole research and letting go of our expectations and biases throughout the whole hour.
So I'm loving the work that you're already starting us down with you, even just now, a particular journey about exploring your own research with each other, research with technique, research with the way your bodies interact with each other, but then also an awareness of how audiences are reading you. And so I'm wondering about a next step about, can we talk about an artistic choice? Was there a separate thing? Because you had to make choices along the way, right? In this hour, it could have been 2 hours, it could have been 10 minutes, and yet you give us an hour. Can you walk us through maybe some of those choices?
Yeah. But it was always a desire to have a longer form of a piece for us, because we already had made a couple of small creations, some 10 minutes of 15. So we wanted to see like what would it be our duo if we had 1 hour to speak to, we don't speak in the show, but to show our message through hand-to-hand.
I think one of the major things that we were interested in is to have the impact of time and taking our time. Like we've always liked in our creation to take our time, but even in an act, doing a 10-minute act is kind of long, but then you can't go as far as you would like to. And the wow factor of Adrien climbing onto me is so strong that sometimes we have been struggling in the past to go behind the, oh my God, she's so strong. Mm-hmm. What else? And we wanted to go further than that. And so by introducing the exchange so early on in the show, then this becomes the new norm. And then you get to read a lot of other layers behind it. And so that's taking the time and creating long scenes that really kind of take the spectator throughout and play with emotions and make us able to create like a full walk path of emotion for the spectator that those words are bad, but yeah.
I love it though. It is a walk path. I will follow you, but I wasn't just walking, I was running, I was jumping. Sometimes I was crying as you were doing this when you were taking us through your walk path, right, of this journey between the two of you. Yeah.
And I think a big wish behind this creation was for us to like do a self journey in our practice and in our relationship, but also to talk about some issues that we were seeing in the circus field, in hand-to-hand, but in society in general, because I think hand-to-hand is a big reflection of human relationships, and that's what we love to talk about in our practice of circus. And it was very interesting to see that creating this full-hour show, at the beginning, we really wanted to denunciate things and be critical. And then we realized along the way that that was giving a lot of space and voice to things that we don't really want to have anymore. And so a big part of the creation was also letting go of that space that we gave to criticizing something, and then announcing a new way. And for us, like this whole process of having an hour of hand-to-hand was the place to do that, because there is really like this layering that you can do, and feeling that you started somewhere and ended up far from that at the end.
Yeah, we played a lot with the concept of consent through that, because it's still a thing that we are better and better to denunciate and point out when it's not working, but to announce a new way to to do it with consent. How do we interact each other and give an example of how it can be done. That was the long process of creating.
Yeah, and finding the nuances of the same sequences and sometimes the same lifts that we've done at the beginning or the middle of the show come back, but then at the end in an empowering way and in a very soft and conscious way. And for us, finding those nuances and saying that it doesn't matter what you do, it's how you do it, kind of, that was really interesting in our process.
I'm super intrigued by this relationship between the denouncing and the announcing. I am super intrigued by your language that you just now offered. That because we do and enjoy. So I'm here, you listeners, that I carry biases. Yes, I do, and I will follow a bias that takes me towards joy, and you offered that, and it was yeah. So celebration to that. If I can move into a next step about what this whole thing is about, why CircusTalk has put us together, is to talk about creation and research. You've already started some of this great work together and with us, and it's a beautiful way for me to sort of reconnect with some of my queer journeys with circus that I've already done with CircusTalk, and I'm grateful to be able to continue that particular walk path, that particular journey. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What do you call creation? Because there's a follow-up question. What do you call research? Haha. So here's go. What do you call creation?
It's funny because knowing the second question for us, we started the process. And for me, creation was how do we apply the data and the findings we had into an art form and a sharing form? So research was the start point of, okay, what can we exchange? What does it say? What does it convey if we do it in a way or in another way? We work a lot about on using circus as a dramaturgy medium and not just do tricks and then theater or tricks and dance. So what is hand-to-hand good to convey? So the creating part for us was really after doing all those exploration, what can we lay down? What it's worth laying down in this hour, because we found so much things and so much path that we can go. So it's the choice part. How do we use this data? How do we present it? And what makes us enjoy presenting? Because we wanted to show that we will enjoy play a lot. We played it 23 times in a month at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, so we needed to like it a lot.
For me, also, creation was a lot, like Adrien said, what do we decide to give to the world that maybe some part of the research won't get out there or will stay more in the circus field? And also knowing what emotional gift we're leaving people with, and a big part of the creation process was deciding who we wanted to create the show for. Did we want to create a show for people that were already agreeing and then pushing it more forward, or did we want to create it for our parents that don't know maybe about gender biases or that don't want to wonder about it? Or it was also, who are we addressing this work to? That I think that was a big part of dealing with the data we had created, like
Wow.
And Circus is a great medium to reach this because it has a wow factor. Like we said before, there's it's an easy, for me, it's an easy way to bring those questioning and those subject without being just like a tech talk or a documentary piece. It's really, okay, it's an art form, it's beautiful, it's enjoyable, but through that, because we open that door with art, with movement, with circus, and then we can slip the values we have and show them, express them to the public.
And I think for also in the process that we had, creation was the moment where I got surprised, where the little magic happens of like, you have all those things that you already know about, but the way you put them together and the way our outside eyes worked with us and the other conceptors of music, light, costumes, once they added to the material we already had, that's when we were like, oh, this is like emotionally charged, and this is conveying something, or this is not working, why is it not? And having those moments of maybe having the instinct more taking forward, because for me, I'm very cerebral, and in a lot of the research we do in dramaturgy, we find I have things I want to convey first.
Yeah.
And the creation was the moment where sometimes it happened despite what we were trying to do. And yeah, another distinction. Yes.
So do I even dare ask the other question? What do you call research?
Research, I think, is a space where we find new questions to challenge a bit. I think research is a place of challenge. So either is in for us, we only knew like arts, research and arts, and not in like a academic way. Really, like for us, we use the word research when we try to dig some new tricks, some new way to practice, when we question our way to practice our discipline. And we found out that it applies very well to other fields when we started to meet, and we were doing roundtables with other researchers that were in field completely different, neuroscience and environment and social studies. And we found out that they were all question seekers and question askers. So it's a place where we can challenge our way to think and
yeah, a lot of question creating, asking, like for me it was directly my brain of asking, and why is that, and what does it create if we decide to do it this way, that way,
the
what if, yeah, and creating exercises to try and understand differences between each other, also things that we had taken for granted, laying them on the table and being like, is this actually what we want to do, or is this actually necessary, or is this something we want to keep doing? And the analysis also of what we had found was a big part of the research, and then finding that some parts were gonna fit in a show and some parts were not. And I think that started also the process of understanding that we may want to do like norms as a project would be bigger than just a show. The show would be a branch where we wanted to take some of those findings of the research into creation, but also some others that we thought and still think are something we really want to share with other people in other entities and institutions, would go somewhere else. And so we didn't have to put everything we found in research into the show, because we had this knowledge of like, it's okay, this fits something else and another purpose, and we can focus that in another place.
I can live that as a liberation. That it doesn't all have to happen within these 59 minutes in this moment. This is I love also that you've offered us a way of thinking about research as a what if, and then an analysis of what happened when you explored the what if. I'm super intrigued by that as what you're offering. Can we take a few more steps into the actual process of the research creation? This started not just yesterday, right? This started a while ago. Could you walk us back through where this came from? Ultimately, along the way, I'd love to hear what's happening now. And then you talked about Agathe, a relationship with new institutions and associations. If you want to move from here to there, I'm open ears. So, but it began a long time ago, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, at schools. But really, first when we met, I was a flyer before, so I was the one flying on people. And when I arrived at Quebec Circus School, there was no people big enough to base me.
He's really tall. He's 6 feet tall.
So I met Agathe, and we were like, oh, maybe we can try me. I'll be the base, but because our technique was really basic and we didn't have that many vocabulary in the technical, like classical technical hand-to-hand, we had to find other ways, and we really wanted to play. Like for me, training, I'm not an athlete by mindset. For me, I train to get more vocabulary and then to be able to express or find cool way to move together. So as soon as we had the opportunity to make work together, it was already in this research category.
Yeah.
Of how can we not just do a number of two lovers.
Yeah.
You know, what else there is in hand-to-hand. So that was how we build up our relationship. Partner acrobatic relationship.
Yeah. Our creating relationship was like, after 2 months of working together, we had to create a show for the end of the year presentation, a 2-minute act. And I remember thinking, okay, it's fun to train with him, but let's see how it is to create, because that's, for me, training with anybody is fun, but the creation part, if he comes to me and he's like, let's be lovers, I'll be like, oh, that's not gonna work. And then we had actually a really great first act creation, and we had no technique, because I had never done hand-to-hand. I could hold my handstands, and that's about it.
And I never lifted weight in my life.
So it was very humble, but the creation and the relationship, like the presence together and the connection was there, and I was like, this is good. And I think the respect in the relationship was very present early on. And I think the fact that Adrien wasn't like a big base in hurt, that sometimes this very dude attitude happens, helped a lot. And honestly, in the duo, we discovered that I might be the dude sometimes. And yeah, so that started the relationship. And then I think, I don't know, during school for a summer job, we took our measurements together and realized that in circumference, everything, chest, waist, hips, calf, neck, biceps, everything, we had the same. And that started a little bit of a question. And then in school, I started porting other people a bit, but flyers. And I really had fun doing that, and started to understand that if I hadn't been so short, maybe I would have liked to be a porter. And then slowly we started exchanging. And I think a year after getting out of school, we started writing a grant with this idea of like, we don't necessarily are the model of hand-to-hand that people are interested in. And so we don't get a lot of contracts to be like interpret for big companies, because, here in Canada, if you don't work for a big company, then what do you do? Like, it's a bit, the system and the model of work is like that. And so starting to write the grant, we were terrible and we had no idea how to do it. And it was a year-long process where actually Adrien's partner that was writing a lot of grants already in theater, helped us a lot understanding what research is and finding questions. And I think a huge realization for me was to understand that a research grant is about having a research question. And then once we had that, it shifted something completely in my mind. And I think having one big question of what is the impact of exchanging roles, creating why do we exchange, what decides it, is it size, is it weight, is it personality, is it the sex of the people, and then from that the questions never stopped.
Yeah, our first question was that what defines the role in a circus duo? That was really the premise of this questioning. And while we were creating, we also did with a research center in Montreal that's called the CRITAC. And they asked us, have you ever thought about doing academic research with your work? And we did circus school, so we are not close to the academic circle of thinkers. So we're like, oh, maybe that sounds fun. So we started doing roundtable with other researchers and started discovering this world. And that's how the collaboration started with them. To make that branch, like Agathe said, we were working on our branch of doing a show, but the other one of like sharing all that information on a more like intellectual level started with them helping us with a team of more science researchers.
And I think on the side of all this work, we have created a company, we have created the show. So we've created a company that's called Acting for Climate Montreal, which is a branch of another Norwegian company that talks about sustainability in circus and human sustainability. And so our work really is ingrained in that question. And we have seen throughout those years how our exchanging of roles, when we created a circus show with group acrobatics with 8 people, how me being the only woman porting at the beginning evolved in 2-3 years. Now there are like more than 10 women porting 3 highs and wanting to do some exchange and not necessarily being just a porter, a base, a flyer, and just having this empowerment of change and seeing how our small community evolved a lot from the exchange and from the little work we were doing, seeing that it could impact. And so that created another wish to create more like a workshop. And so other like a démarche, how do you say that? A process that we could share and that could impact other disciplines or other art field and schools and things like that. Yeah.
Wow. Beginning with the question and understanding that asking the question itself can be liberatory and productive. Because a part of this episode is for helping other people to ask questions maybe of themselves. What are some of the practicalities about joining research and creation and research? And I think your process really is a lovely one to follow. And you have landed, and the Center for Circus Arts Research, I think is what it's called in English, the CRITAC. Yeah, so congratulations. Do I understand that you recently got an award for a 3-year grant? 3 years? 3 years?
Yes, we did. So we're gonna have 3 years to ask this question again. What are the impact of exchanging roles? But this time we're gonna be supported by a big team of researchers, people from applied science field, social science,
physiology. We have partners in circus and in ballet school in Toronto, from National Ballet School in Toronto. And I think the goal is to see the impact of this kind of exchange and research on gender biases in ourselves, in the bodies, in the audience that see a show, in the participants of a workshop or of a conference. And a big part of that is going to be for us to understand what our process was, because none of it was academic and really understood. Like now, years after, we can talk about it and we love to talk about it, but it was a lot of just going with the flow and discovering along the way what it was.
yeah, putting vocabulary, because it's not a thing we did in school, in circus school, putting vocabulary over a process. So it was a big learning experience for us to do these kind of exchange, to be able to put words on that process. And we are right now doing an autoethnography to go back into our whole process and really put it as scientific data, and to be able to share this process also, because now it's just piles of notes and videos. But how could we put it as a transferable object, so people could read it, understand it, and maybe apply it to whatever their discipline is.
Yeah.
So the process can be shared in the community.
And what was missing from our process, because we're still a long way from so many of the things we want to work towards. So understanding where the gaps are and what we have been missing and what could be useful also. It's a very nice process to go back to and be like, oh, at this point, I was still doing this and you were still doing that. And yeah.
Wow. The luxury, among the things that I'm hearing that's really quite glorious about this is also the luxury of time that this fellowship would be able to offer, a time to reflect and analyze and to process and to, the glory of time, eh? Glory of time. So do I understand several of the things that are coming out of this? You're going to be doing research with other teams of researchers. You're going to be doing workshops. You're going to be doing this autoethnography. Am I missing a step? What else are you going to be doing?
We'll create a conference to share with the companies and other kind of fields of study that are not related to art necessarily, to create a process of wondering what gender biases can be found in mathematics, in physiology, in science, in medicine. And we're gonna have some partners that will help discover what impact is on the audience that come to see our show, because we want also to be able to measure that, and we are not the people to do that. And so some of our partners have created tools that will help develop that. So we're very thrilled about that part as well. Yeah, I think, and it's a 3-year process. So we are also building the project as we go and as we discover new avenues. But that's the main idea of, as of now, the starting point.
Yeah, it's already a lot to do. Like 3 years seems a long time, but like matching it with our touring, because we tour this piece right now and doing other creation project with other people. So we are not missing missing work right
now. Maybe my next step is to go straight towards the recommendation part. Because you've been so eloquent about the creation of the show, and then the understanding that the show was actually the beginning of a process, and then you're now laying out some of the steps of what this process has taken you towards, which is yet more research and then disseminating it and maybe helping to change the world along the way. But what's your recommendation to other creators, other research creators who may be at another part in their path? They're at the beginning. What's your recommendation? Do you have 1, 2 go-to recommendations?
I think to think about your place as an artist while you're beginning and just learning the discipline or whatever the medium you're doing, to think about what do you want to do with it. A lot of, like, for us in circus school are really directed towards being an interpret, and that's okay. They do it really well, but there's other paths to do, and even inside those institutions, you can start to work towards your own way to practice your discipline. So for us, it appeared really later to be able to name the fact that, oh no, we want to be creators, we want to do our own work, and there are tools around, there are resources, they are not giving to to you. So to think about what you would like to do, and reach out, because there's a beautiful community out there. And for us, when we came out of school, other groups wanted to do the same thing, and we are in no competition with any of them. It's all helping each other, because the more we help each other, the more we build path to small companies and small projects like this can thrive. So yeah, collaboration is key.
I think also for me, what I loved about this process of beginning research was to understand that I was no longer trying, for years in circus school, at least, you learn a new discipline. You learn that this pain is normal, you have to get through. Like you're not able to do something, but this is the goal. You're learning what other people have, like the path that have been created by other people is the way of learning a discipline, and you have to go through that. And the shift moment of being like, I've learned enough, and what I don't correspond to, it's okay. I don't have to be exactly like that person, and understanding what is it within myself that I am missing. Like, what's my place in this system existing? What do I like about it? What am I missing from it? What can I bring? What are the things I want to question and I want to talk about? Oh, I do hand-to-hand and I want to talk about human relationships. Great. What does it say? And then finding this place was the next step of kind of getting out of the learning world, and more of now I'm giving back to the discipline and I'm bringing it in the direction that I want to see it go. And so this part of research of just consciousness of where you stand in a place and where do you want to go, and who do you want to bring with you, for me was just what saved me as an artist, as a creator, because otherwise I think it would have been years of just running after something that I'm not necessarily, and just having those conversations, just, I don't know, I think it makes us more proud of what we do and engage in the way the field is evolving, and it can be a process that is not as cerebral. I know we love to think and we love to talk about that, and I've always loved school and whatever, so that was my way. But I know some other people are more physical, and that's also research, and we are loving to learn that research is way bigger than just what the literature and the academic world has been kind of putting forward. So finding those ways and just getting some consciousness of where you stand and what you want to do.
Yeah, I would add also to not wait. There's this concept of when I'll be good, I'll be able to find new ways to do this discipline. When I'll learn everything that I need to, I'll be able to do some exploration and to have fun with it. But I think creation is a muscle like anything else, and you have to do a lot to feel comfortable in it and to know the process and to enjoy the process. So I think that starting, even if you don't have that many skills around you, you can start earlier than you think to do it your own way, and the technique will build itself, the process will build itself. But because it's a process that takes time, for us, this is our first show, our first full-hour show, but we started working on sequence in the, like Agathe said, in the first 2 months that we met each other 9 years ago. So to dig already in the fun part, which is reinventing and not neglecting the technical aspect of it on the side. To jump right into it, it's I would say it's a tips.
Well, I'm already taking notes, lots of notes in my own head, and I suspect that there'll be people watching going, "Oh," because your generosity, your generosity of spirit and beauty, and your human beauty is I think resonating. At least it's resonating across my particular camera. This generosity of offering suggestions and advices. So here's the last question then, since I started this that episode series on queer journeys to circus, and I ended that with a question that I think that I kind of want to continue with you guys. What is it that we can do to really make circus that thing that we want to run away with? What can we do to make the world better through circus, or circus better through the world?
Big question. Good question.
I think what we love about circus as a medium is that it's universal and it touches everybody. Like the wow factor and the acrobatics that are so fun to do and to watch are the like grabbing people attention. And after that, we like to talk about it as like it's the little key to the heart. And after that, they're like open, and any shows create this particular space where you can open up people emotionally, and that's, I think, when once you get this like convincing people emotionally that something is important, then half the work is done. And so for me, using like understanding the power of circus for that and going further and not just using it as entertainment, as at least like from our perspective here in North America, where a lot of circus is sometimes not deeper than entertainment, which is okay, but if you would like to, I think there is a place for that. So that's how circus changes the world in my world. And what was the other question?
I think that's hugely beautiful. I don't even know that we need another part of the question, but I think that, yeah, and the notion that, yeah, that circus itself can help us change the world. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that for me, I don't know. Somehow I started this process with Adrien years ago because we were missing things, but we didn't quite know what. And a lot of the process was reaching into those dark places of feeling not enough, or those problems and like body image and reappropriation of ourselves and things like that. And for me, the process has like even gone further than what I thought it would create. And so taking the leap of faith to touch into those places that you want to hide or that you're not comfortable with have been the ones that actually now make us who we are. Like we thought we were gonna do something, and the thing actually did us different. Like I don't know. and yeah, I think that was the big power for me of this process. So it's worth it.
Wow. Do you see what just happened?
Yeah.
So much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There's so much to process, so much to work with from what you've given us. And here's to Circus Skin Creation with Agathe and Adrien.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.